Here's the next one. Look around. You might have overlooked some people that need to be recognized. You might have overlooked some talent that you could be using to help in the training and conduct meetings. Don't miss some of the gifts that are close by you. Look around and say, who's doing a good job that maybe I've missed this last year? Look around and see if there aren't some people who need to be lifted up, who need your inspiration, who need your presence, who need your time. Here's the next one. Look down to the work. Look down to the soil that's ready for the seeds of opportunity that you will share by your voice and your invitation and your language and your meetings, your presentation. Look down to the work that your hands can work miracles. Look down to the task and see if there aren't some things you might have missed this past year you can pick up on this year and work miracles for yourself, for your future, for your organization. Here's the next one. It's a word of caution. Look out for the enemy that's on the outside as well as the enemy that's on the inside. Look out for your own thoughts that might deceive you, saying you're too short, you're too tall, you're too old, you've never done it before. What makes you think you can do it now? Look out for the temptation. I've told the story and it bears repeating. An ancient story that said there were two nice people. This is not a story of one bad person and one good person. The storyteller says this is a story of two nice people. However, and I want you to underline the word however, because that's the drama of life. However, one built his house on the rock, and the other built his house on the sand. And sure enough, the storms came as they always do, and the one that built his house on the rock was saved. The one that built his house on the sand was lost. Here's what it means. Nice people can make careless decisions. Nice people can make foolish decisions. None of us are above temptation. That's why the great prayer says, lead us around temptation. Hopefully deliver us from the evil. Tempted to cross the line. A customer shows up across the street from where you live. And it's so easy to say, rather than being taken care of by someone who lives so far away, I can take care of you because I live just across the street. Don't listen to the tempter. Stay on track. Build on the rock. Look out for your own mind that would tell you your dreams can't come true. Look out for your own thoughts that would tell you that it's not going to work that well for you. Look out for that. Here's the next one. Look inside. Some of you have just started to develop your talents and your skills and your abilities. Some of you have done enough to reach this level, to reach these tables, to be in this room. But I promise you, if you go home and take another look inside, here's the question to ask. What else could I develop of my mind and my spirit and my talents and my ability that would make me more valuable to myself, to my family, to my organization, to Herbalife? What else could I do? When Mark invited me 20 years ago to travel the world with him, that was the question I asked. Do you suppose this invitation would be an open door for me to refine my skills and talent and health and become vital and become valuable to whoever I might meet based on Mark's invitation and the Herbalife family? That turned out to be a wise decision on my part. What else could I do? How far could I reach inside for something I haven't found yet? And that unique experience at that time when Mark gave me the invitation is what has sustained me now these last 20, 21 years traveling the world for Herbalife. And I'm always proud to say when I'm introduced, yes, I'm Jim Rohn, I travel the world for Herbalife. Here's the next one. Look up to the God that made us all, to a higher power that's still within reach. Draw on that spiritual part of human existence and human life. It'll work miracles. Once in a while I get a letter. Guess what it says? Dear Mr. Rohn, while you travel the world, please remember, we pray for you. I thought, wow. That's what I felt at 39,000 feet. When I was a little weary and tired, somebody in South Africa was saying a prayer for Jim Rohn. All of that unseen miracle stuff that we all touch at times in our lives. I'm asking you to look up and draw on that experience, that comfort, that uniqueness that makes us who we are. Here's what's next. Make these notes. The cooperation of Home Office staff and the distributors is going to be an incredible driving force. Now that I've met Michael Johnson and David and Greg, and Matt, and all the rest that have added to our staff, here's the sense I have and the promise I'll give you from Jim Rohn. I've got the experience to make the promise. Here it is. The Home Office is going to do their part. They're going to learn whatever they have to learn, change whatever they have to change, develop whatever they have to develop. It is my firm opinion that Michael Johnson and the rest have fallen in love with Herbalife and the idea of helping to change the nutritional habits of the world. They've done that. And being part of Home Office, my pledge is the same. Next, the Chairman's Club. Ladies and gentlemen, if you sit down and rest too long, become complacent, we lose the way. For the President's team out there with your organization, working consistently in your neighborhood and wherever you work, we're counting on you to help lead the way, solve problems, come up with answers, not just work tirelessly in your own behalf, but on behalf of Herbalife. Because as Herbalife goes, so we all go. We appreciate your contribution, your integrity. We appreciate your reputation. I know it's true. Not every President's team member is going to do the right thing. I know that. The law of averages says. But here's the key. Enough will that says we're going to be okay. Enough will that says we can go from the 58 countries we have to the 58 countries we want. So, President's team, what a responsibility. Thank you for making the sacrifice to be here. As you go home, part of our hopes and dreams for the future rest in your hands. And we know you're going to do the job, do it well, leading your organizations to incredible success. Thank you to the President's team. And to all of the tabulator team, you know, if your destiny and your future is not clear, we all suffer. If you're not all inspired, we're a little bit weaker than we should be. For yourself, for your organization, recognition, finding a place to serve, your experiences, your influence. Incredible. Next, keep working on the philosophy and the attitude that will guide you to the success you want in Herbalife. There's no reason why you can't make all of your dreams come true right here. This is the place. When I met Mark Hughes and then he invited me on this journey, I said to myself, this is my best chance. Not just to do something, but to do something remarkable. And Mark gave me those 3 promises. If you haven't made the list, make them again. Mark promised me, number 1, someday we would influence the industry. If he was only here to see what has happened in just the last short while, Herbalife beginning to influence the industry. Second, he said, we'll build the finest leadership team in the world. And if he could see in person this room full of leaders that have gathered here, he would say, we did it. It was worth the price to pay, whatever we had to do to develop this leadership that has seen us through some tough times, that has helped to evangelize the world with the idea of nutrition, personal development, becoming better financially for your family and for yourself. Next, a chance if we work together to work miracles. If we take the past, if we're inspired by the future, work on the present, there isn't anything we can't accomplish. Now make this quick list and I'm going to finish. Number one, for us to really count on the future and to count on each other, here's a good list. Number one, morality, doing what's right. With Herbalife's marketing now and these incredible products we have, you know, doing it right is going to be so easy, there's going to be no reason for doing it wrong. There's no reason for making promises we can't fulfill. Here's what I learned early in my career. Always remember, whoever you're working with, this is what you want to occur later. That they found out it was easier than you said, and that it was more than you promised. Here's the key. Better understated than overstated. When I wrote my first book, Seasons of Life, the picture in that book was really not the most flattering picture. And when some saw that picture, they said, Mr. Owen, surely you could have found a little better picture to put in that book. I said, no, this one is fine, so that when I show up, I look better than the picture. That's better than using the glamour picture, right? And then when you show up, you look a little older. Here's what's next in the vocabulary for leadership for our future. Make these notes now. Next is truth. To deal in truth, we're going to speak the truth. We want to build on truth, what is right. Here's what's next. Responsibility. Accepting responsibility. If we want the fortune, we must also accept the responsibility that goes with building it. Then the responsibility of what to do with it. Next is courage. Courage is that unique quality Mark had after he conducted his first meeting, and everybody said, we're not interested. Here's what he needed at that moment, courage, to do the second meeting. And at the second meeting, someone said yes. Your courage will be rewarded. There's no better place to place it than here. When you're discouraged with 3 in a row who say no, just remember, let your courage now show to talk to the next 3. Because out of the next 3, one may be the person that helps you become wealthy and rich. Public courage, private courage, the courage when no one's around, when you make those resolves and decide for yourself you're going to do something, make some changes, whatever. Courage of thought. Here's an excellent one, courage to change. I have to work on this one. Courage to be silent when it would be better to listen than to talk. Here's a big one, courage to forgive. Here's an important one, courage to compromise. You give a little, I'll give a little, somehow we'll work it out. That's what Marcus and Alan had to do back in those earlier days, a bit of compromise with each other to make it work. They're still working on it. Here's the next one, courage to risk. That's what life really is all about. Not an undue risk, but risk. If you want the harvest in the spring, you must risk the seed into the soil. Or the harvest in the fall, you must risk in the spring the seed to sow. You've got to risk some of your time. My grandkids ask me every time, and my family, why would you go spend the day with those people in Hawaii rather than spending the day with us? I've got to give them some excellent reasons. And then when I see them shortly, they will ask me, was it worth it to go spend the day with them and not with us? So how I ration out my time and how you ration out your time is so important. Have the courage to make those wise decisions. Now, my family knows that a big part of my life now, of course, is herbal life. And they love the stories. And when I say to them, I had a chance in Maui to make a deposit of my own personal experience into the lives of so many incredible leaders from herbal life around the world, that maybe, just maybe, that experience I had, depositing my experience into the thoughts and consciousness of all of you, no telling what kind of miracles that may work. And when I get through sharing with my family this opportunity I had to speak to you today, they say, yes, Grandpa, yes, Papa, it was worth it for you to go to Maui and be with the Herbalife family. Here's the next part of the list. Keep your word. What you promise, make sure you fulfill. When I leave on a trip, home office hopefully sleeps well at night. When Jim Rohn's in India, when Jim Rohn is in South Africa, when Jim Rohn is in Europe, hopefully they sleep well. Not pacing the floor, wondered if I've shown up. I wanted Mark to have the feeling, as long as Jim Rohn's there, everything's going to be okay. We all should earn that kind of reputation. As long as you're there, it's going to be okay. If it's in your hands, it's in good hands. That's the key. Next, admit your mistakes. Sometimes you've got to admit them publicly. Sometimes you've got to admit them to each other. Here's the big one, to admit them to yourself. And then here's sometimes, this could be some of the greatest new beginnings, is when you say, I'm sorry. It's a chance to start all over. Next is dignity. Heart and soul. If we were going to use a model for some of these words, it would be Mark Hughes. He had the dignity. He had the heart and soul. Next is faith. Faith in God, faith in others, faith in your family. A big one is faith in yourself. Here's one we all knew Mark for, class of spirit, class of manners, class that understands position, place. Here's a unique one, a touch of humility. The rich must be taught not to be arrogant. The poor must be taught not to be cynical. Some other basics to remember that I used when I was building my organization. Here's a good one. Manage as you build and build as you manage. It doesn't take but a short conversation to find out some people's problems. They have stopped building and started managing. But the key here says, build as you manage and manage as you build. It probably wouldn't be too far wrong to use the old 80-20 rule here. Spend 80% of your time building and 20% of your time managing what you build. But it's easy to get the wrong numbers here and spend 20% of your time building and 80% of your time managing. What made me one of the world's best recruiters? Here was my time management in recruiting when I built my own organization. I spent about 75% of my time recruiting and 25% of my time training. It is easy to get the opposite numbers going and spend 25% of your time recruiting and 75% of your time training. Guess what pays the biggest money? Recruiting, talking to the next person. Talk to the next person. Talk to the person across the street. I shared this with Alan yesterday or today. When we opened India, someone asked me, should I go to India? And I said, if you walk out your front door and look down the street and there's no cars and no people, and you walk over one more street and look up and down the street and there's no cars and no people, you should go to India. Let me give you Mark's philosophy, and it is one of the best. Mark recruited first line at home, and he built down line out of town. He never personally recruited outside of Southern California. He didn't go to Denver to recruit. He didn't go to Dallas to recruit. Right? He didn't go to another country to recruit. He recruited. All of the people he personally recruited were within his scope, where he was. Now, if somebody in Los Angeles knew somebody in Denver, and they got it going and got it started, then Mark made his trip to Denver, but not to recruit, only to advance the business. What a unique philosophy. And here's some of the wrap-up now. The philosophy that makes network marketing, herbal lifestyle really fly. Number one, as many customers as possible to represent each distributor, and as many distributors as possible to represent each supervisor volume. Next, this one helped save my life. Work with the people who deserve it, not the people who need it. Follow the example of life itself. Life was not designed for us to get what we need. Life was designed for us to get what we deserve. You don't receive a harvest because you need one. You receive a harvest because you planted one in the spring. And then here's one more, and I'm finishing. I got about 12 of these finishes.